There's a lot to do in regard to Iran. First of all, we build up Ahmadinejad when he really isn't as important as we make him out to be. He doesn't control the military. He doesn't control the spy services. He doesn't control the internal security apparatus. He doesn't control the machinery that sponsors foreign terrorists. He doesn't control the missile program. He doesn't control the nuclear program. His powers are mainly domestic and economic. The power for all of those matters that trouble us are in the hands of the Revolutionary Guard. He doesn't control the Revolutionary Guard. They're an entity to themselves. So by building him up as the bad guy, we're diverting attention away from the real problem, which is the Revolutionary Guard. And he, by the way, thrives on being attacked around the world. It builds up his stature internally, and it makes him look like a great hero. But he really doesn't have that day-to-day power over those entities. We're also ignoring the supreme ruler of Iran, who has more powers than Ahmadinejad has on the issues that trouble us. Now, here's where we can really have an impact inside Iran, because the supreme ruler, by his own tradition and preference, requires unanimity before making decisions. So in any case where you have someone, a decision maker, who requires unanimity, then it's not so difficult to make sure that he cannot receive the unanimous consent that he needs in order to make his decision. And this is where we can be playing off one faction against one another, when instead what we're doing is we're launching attacks against Iran as a, not just as a government, but even as a nation, unifying the Iranian leadership, and therefore ensuring that the supreme leader has the unanimity he needs to execute the policies of support for terror, of support for the nuclear weapons program and the missile program, and so on. So it really defies logic the way we're handling Iran right now. Iran is somewhat of a democratic country. It's more democratic than most of the other countries in the region. Well, isn't that an opportunity for us to get involved in that process? I think so. The Saudis are certainly doing things there. The others are doing things there. The Chinese are very active there. The Russians are very active there. We're not. And in fact, we have not even done an inventory in our intelligence community to map out the Iranian political warfare machinery that they have domestically and that they use abroad, and how they use it against us, or how we can use it against them. It just simply hasn't been done, even at the classified level. We should make it painful for Iran to sponsor attacks on our troops in Iraq and Afghanistan. Instead, we've done nothing in that regard. We have an entire apparatus at the Pentagon called JIDO, which is to defeat IEDs, the Joint IED the cut and recut. We have a whole Pentagon apparatus called JIDO to defeat IEDs. But they take sort of an engineer's approach to it. How can we find the IEDs and defuse them, or how can we cut off the routes from Iran into Iraq and into Afghanistan, rather than, I mean, that's just swatting flies, really. The real problem is the Iranian-made or the Iranian-designed IEDs and their equivalents, EFPs and other devices. They're coming from Iran, but they're being run by the Revolutionary Guard. Yet when we grab the Iranian agents who do this, we don't treat them as terrorists, we treat them as prisoners of war. We let them go. When we see the Iranian Revolutionary Guard using Iranian oil platforms in the Persian Gulf as bases from which to launch military operations against American interests in the Gulf, we'll send a SEAL team up there and we'll whack the Revolutionary Guard members who are causing the trouble for us. But we're not making it painful for Iran, for the owners of that rig. If it's an Iranian state company, it might be a company controlled by the Revolutionary Guard. My view is we should take that rig, we should at least disable that rig to prevent it from producing revenue for Iran. But even better, I would advocate seizing the rig as a war prize and keeping it for ourselves and using it to fund our own operations. Once we start doing that, we're going to make it very painful for the Iranians to use their oil rigs against us. Likewise, rather than hunt down every IED that the Iranians are trying to send into the country, we should send a message that every time an American soldier is killed or injured by an IED, an Iranian Revolutionary Guard colonel will die. And you just send a Predator with a Hellfire missile through the bedroom window of the guy's villa, and doesn't matter which colonel it is, we just go eye for an eye, and I guarantee you within days they'll shut down that entire program, and the Iranians themselves will be hunting down any rogue elements, even ones they don't control, because we should just blame them for every single attack and hold them accountable in that way, and take the war back into their very own homes and bedrooms inside Iran. That's political warfare, and that's psychological warfare, and that's something we're not doing.